Okay, so now I've done a video on the adult novels that are out so far, the young adult novels that are out, including one that's coming out, the children's graphic novels, including a children's short story collection that's not a graphic novel that's recently out. And now I'm going to talk to you about the adult graphic novels. And this is really one of the places too that this expanded universe of Stranger Things shines so well. And this is the place where the most materials are. So let's talk about them. The very first one we're going to talk about is this one. It's called Stranger Things Into the Fire. By the way, these are Dark Horse comics, and have recently been released. Most of them have recently been released as part of 2 volumes of library editions, which are hardcover. And they're larger, so if you want to see that enlarged art, those library editions are the way to go. Great place to check that stuff out. I always recommend is cheapgraphicnovels.com. A friend of mine runs that place, and it is phenomenal. I've ordered lots of stuff from it. They do a great job. But let me talk for a minute about Into the Fire. So this one says years after escaping Hawkins' lab, 2 of Dr. Brenner's former subjects, Ricky and Marcy, seek to live normal lives when news reaches them that the lab was shut down. So they go on a harrowing search for Nine. Now, Nine is another one of, obviously, the subjects. Nine has specifically phenomenal pyrotechnic abilities, which means that she is able to start fires. However, she has this fractured, fragmented psyche, and they're concerned that if they don't find her, she could cause a lot of damage. But as they go in search of Nine, they find a lot more secrets about Hawkins and the lab. So that is Into the Fire. Really great story. This was the first one. Actually, this was the third one that I read, but it was just so phenomenal. And I think this is volume 3. They don't have volumes exactly, like, say, an ongoing story would, because they're sort of each individual. But I think that this would be volume 3. And so now I'm going to do what would be volume 2. So clearly I'm out of order, and that's 6. Now, 6 is about number 6, and you can see Dr. Brenner there. So this one takes place in 1978. So you can see this is probably very closely connected to the Suspicious Minds novel. Or around the same time. I think the Suspicious Minds novel was 69, and then the other adult novel was 77. So this is obviously sort of in between those, or in that past period. Whew. All right, get on with it, Brian. So, what lengths will Dr. Brenner, head of the secret MK Ultra program, go to obtain the power he desires? Find out in this prequel to Stranger Things. So this deals with 6. Now, 6 is, of course, got these same sort of telekinetic abilities, and she is locked away. Her name is Francine. She's locked away in the lab, but as she continues to be experimented on, she starts to have these sort of dark visions of the future, a future that she hopes that she can stop and that she desperately wants to escape. And so this is sort of the story of 6. Now, I'm definitely giving you a briefer overview of these because there are so many, but gosh, they're so good. I really recommend them. The next one, which would be probably volume 1, and I got this one as a Target exclusive edition. It has a different cover, and it has sort of a sketchbook section in the back. But this one is called The Other Side, and this is definitely the first one that came out. And this one is season 1, but from Will's perspective while he's on the other side. So what happened when Will was on the other side? How did he survive? What was it like for him? That is what this graphic novel is about, and it's so good, so well written. Phenomenal art. If you're a fan of the art so far of these, so good. All right, what has been listed as number 4, again, I'm sorry I'm going so quick, but I still have a couple more to hit, is this one, which is called Science Camp. Now, if you're familiar with season 3, you remember that Dustin comes back from science camp and he's got himself a girl. And this one is sort of the story of how they meet and what happens while they're away at science camp. This story, if you're a fan of the, people are saying season 4 has a lot of Nightmare on Elm Street vibes. This book has a lot of Friday the 13th vibes. They're at summer camp and there may be a serial killer there. They've got to kind of figure out what's going on. And Dustin, who is used to always being the biggest geek, the biggest dork, somehow is put in the spot of taking the lead to figure it out. Plus, we get the beginning of Dusty Bun's relationship with his beloved Susie, who takes a bigger role in season 4. Great, and honestly, one of my favorite ones, that science camp one's so good. All right, then we have this sort of one-off, which is called Stranger Things and Dungeons and Dragons. Now, this book is very interesting because it sort of hits in a few different places in the story, but it's sort of a story of their love affair. The characters from Stranger Things, their love affair with Dungeons and Dragons. How do they originally find the game? How do they fall in love with it? And how does their relationship with it grow as the years goes on? So if you're a D&D nerd, you definitely want to pick this up. I'm sure you're going to relate to their story, minus the Demogorgons and everything, but their story of how they fall in love with Dungeons and Dragons. Then one of the newest ones is this one, which I want to thank the Bedford Public Library for having a copy of. Again, I like to reach out to local libraries when I can't find the books that are out or I don't own them yet and I can't afford to buy them just yet. So this one is called The Tomb of Yebuin. And what's really great is, who do we have there? You guys know I'm terrible with names, but I'm going to double check. It's Doug, right? Bob, clearly not Doug. Gosh, I'm so bad at names all the time. But Bob, played by our beloved, if you're a Goonies fan, if you're a Lord of the Rings fan, I mean, right? So excited to see him in the season. And here's an opportunity to get a little bit more of him. Essentially, after what happens to Bob happens, this story takes place, and Will is sort of wrestling with his place, as always. He's been through so many difficult things, but he discovers that Bob was the founder of the AV Club at Hawkins, and that Bob left behind a map to a treasure, maybe an ancient Viking tomb. And so in the middle of a blizzard, Will, who's feeling ostracized from his group, goes hunting for this tomb, this treasure, and finds so much more than that. It's definitely not what he thinks. But highly recommend that you pick this one up. This was a really fun one. Almost has a little bit of Indiana Jones vibes in it. Really fun. Now, that being said, we're not done yet. There is still one more graphic novel on its way. And it is this one. Let me show you the cover of that. There's the cover of that one. It's this one right here. So let me give you a little bit of a description of it. Now, this one doesn't come out until November, and the title of this one I'm probably going to pronounce incorrectly. It's called Kamchatka, and it is, here's the description of this one. It says, horror and espionage collide in the most bone-chilling Stranger Things comics collection yet. When a leading Soviet scientist is abducted to work on a top-secret project, he comes face-to-face with the Kremlin's new ultimate weapon, a Demogorgon. What his top-secret captors didn't count on was the resiliency of the Doctor's children. While their father has been dragooned into weaponizing a monster brought back from the U.S., the two young teenagers are forced to embark on a harrowing and perilous journey to find him, with help from an unlikely ally, an old but extremely deadly retired KGB agent. Things are getting stranger in Russia, and all 4 of these characters will need to battle impossible odds in order to survive. So, a little bit of spoilers there for Season 4. If you haven't gotten there, I apologize. But obviously, this is going to kind of tell the story of how the Russians got their secret weapon that we see in Season 4. And that is, right now, the only graphic novel that has not yet been released that I could find as I was researching more and more of this. Now, this is not a graphic novel, but I do want to just throw out there, I would be remiss if I didn't mention this, that there is an audiobook that is coming out on July 5th. So at the time of me recording this, this is going to come out in just a month and 3 days. And it's written by Delilah S. Dawson, who is another phenomenal writer who we've seen write some Star Wars books. You know, I think I said earlier that Gwenda Bond wrote the Phasma story, but maybe it was Delilah S. Dawson. I forget. I need to look that up. But Delilah S. Dawson is definitely written for Star Wars, and I'm excited. This is an audiobook original being released through Audible. Now, if this works the way that the Star Wars audiobook originals have worked, I would be interested to see if it ends up being released in book form later. I love to hear those things as audiobooks, but I also always want to have a physical hard copy of that book in my shelf as well. So anyway, at this point, I've told you all about the Stranger Things expanded universe. In some areas, they are launching a Stranger Things pop-up store. I know here in North Texas, there's one at the Grapevine Mills Mall that I hope to visit before it goes away. But I hope that you can dive deeper into the Upside Down and find something to tide you over until Stranger Things Season 4 Part 2 comes out. Have a great day.